We have officially reached that point.
The Indiana Fever don't want Caitlin to be Caitlin.
Why the double standard? Fire her. Damn. Fire her ass.
Those were the kind of questions media was asked.
The coach of the Fever was just dismissed for assaulting Caitlin Clark. This is crazy. The league is in disarray after the Indiana Fever sacked their assistant coach after the startling incident in which she forcibly seized Caitlin Clark during a game. A brief altercation on the sidelines has turned into a full-fledged WNBA scandal, revealing months of tension behind the scenes, control strategies, and a clear attempt to quiet the league's brightest player. Now that the truth is out, the WNBA is being criticized, and fans are calling for clarification. The Fever coach was recently sacked, and it all began with a startling incident in June 2025 when she forcefully seized Caitlin Clark after a blowout game. The WNBA was rocked by that one act that was captured on camera and watched millions of times online. Here's the truth, though. There was more than one grab involved. It was the culmination of the Indiana Fever's months-long effort to modify, manage, and repress the most well-known brand in women's basketball.
It's completely unacceptable. It is completely unacceptable.
One of the assistant coaches chasing Caitlin Clark down as she's riling up the crowd, and it seems like she's getting scolded, reprimanded.
It wasn't a close game against the Connecticut Sun. By 20, the Fever were up. After taking a step back 3 over JC Sheldon, Clark energized the fans and made his way to the bench to be replaced. However, in the middle of the excitement, her coach grabbed her by the arm and forcefully pulled her instead of giving her a high five and celebrating.
For the past 3 games, it is very clear that Caitlin Clark is not feeling like Caitlin Clark.
Something changed from that point on. More significantly, Clark was a different player and never returned to the game. She lost her edge, her fire, and her emotion. It was evident in the subsequent games, such as the one versus the Valkyries. Caitlin, who is renowned for her unrelenting enthusiasm when performing, appeared broken, robotic, and subdued. Furthermore, this wasn't a hot take. It was seen by league fans, analysts, and past players. It was like seeing a star wane in real time, both in terms of her voice and body expression during interviews.
I'm not a fan of what they're trying to do to Caitlin Clark, and I fully believe they're trying to diminish, they're trying to dim the flame of.
Caitlin Clark has often stated that she performs at her peak when she is feeling passionate. After her standout performance against the Liberty, she told reporters, "That's when I'm at my best." She thrives on the attention, the commotion, and the crowd. Lisa Bluer, her college coach, was aware of that. It worked when she let Clark take the lead emotionally. Clark rose to become the most watched athlete in the history of collegiate women's sports. However, in the pros, the Fever handled her feelings more like an issue than a present.
Absolutely beat the crap out of it.
This went beyond a single coach taking her arm. It was a sign of something considerably more serious. The Indiana Fever's systematic attempt to change Caitlin into someone she's not. A player who only makes logo threes when the system permits. It remains silent and grins when instructed. They were looking for a product, not a rival.
Only her performance on the court that was worrying fans. It was also just her demeanor, her energy. It felt like something was wrong. She wasn't hyping up the crowd like she normally does.
And by the way, from this moment on, we hardly saw anything. From this moment on, the emotion was gone from.
Caitlin made an effort to comply, but it was evident her shot efforts failed after that game. Her influence diminished and her minutes were erratic. She appeared to be a member of her own team. Her emotional presence, the one that filled arenas, was absent even as she amassed stats.
Problem that a lot of us have with the referees is it's either very physical and they're calling everything, or they're missing.
The referees then arrived. Clark was pushed to the ground without a whistle after being poked in the eye during that same Connecticut game. Although the WNBA eventually acknowledged that the referees lost composure and missed important calls, they were not disciplined or held accountable. Additionally, this wasn't the first instance. This season, Clark has received at least 5 technical or egregious fouls, many of which came from well-known referees. However, there is little to no penalty. Referees reportedly threatened to give Clark a tech for merely energizing the fans, which was far worse. Consider that. Being punished for doing what she does best, giving fans a reason to attend, is the league's biggest draw.
And you don't really get to be a dog and get to that platform where you get to bring a national title, the first one back to LSU, without having that type of mentality, that chip on your shoulder. And I feel like we have to let these young women be unapologetically themselves.
It became evident that this was more than just bad management. It was sabotage. The Fever seems intent on reducing Clark's power from the bench to the front desk. They were not interested in her might, swagger, or fire. They desired something less authentic, clean, and marketable.
She's not like this during the game. That's not Caitlyn. That's not who she is. And if you want to turn her into that, that's going to have more negative repercussions than positive outcomes.
However, Caitlyn Clark isn't perfect. She was never a pretender. She battles over everything, trash speaks, flops, and is fierce and competitive. That is her unique quality. She isn't flawless. She is as strong as Jordan or Kobe, the Fever's worst error was attempting to take that away. It has now backfired.
You cannot try to turn a player who plays off emotion into a robot. It's not going to.
The coach has left, dismissed a few weeks after that viral incident. Although the organization attempted to portray it as a change in direction, everyone is aware of the true circumstances. Supporters called for responsibility. The video became very popular. Spectators filled the front desk. Above all, Caitlyn's silence was a powerful statement.
Out with injury, that the WNBA does better when she is on the court. The WNBA ratings across the league dropped by over 50% when Caitlyn Clark was out with injury, and this is obviously such a crucial time and a crucial year.
This was more than just a dismissal. It was a reckoning. A reminder that you cannot select the most talented athlete in sports and then cut her wings. Someone whose identity is based on pushing boundaries cannot be silenced.
You can't just grab a player. Like, I'm sorry, you can't just, the player's walking back, you can't just grab a player.
It is impossible to handle the Caitlyn Clark brand. She is a powerful force. Additionally, the Fever must stop viewing her as a threat and begin viewing her as the game's future if they hope to win and the WNBA can expand.
This is Caitlyn Clark. This is Caitlyn at her best, when she is relentless. When she is relentless, when she's getting the crowd involved.
Okay, so let's go right to the point. This was more than just a poor coaching situation that resulted in a dismissal. No, this was a deep-seated issue. As though the call originated within the house, kind of deep since it reveals a full backstage operation that has been attempting to recreate Caitlyn Clark from the ground up. Once you start to rip at the threat of her being seized by my dame, not in a positive way either.
Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense.
Caitlyn Clark's inability to fit in is the issue. She doesn't play by the rules, the system is her. The problem is that Caitlyn was aware of it, she sensed it. In interviews, she alluded to it by stating things like, "They're attempting to prevent me from doing what I do best." That isn't a casual remark. A warning shot, that is. They told the best women's basketball show to turn down the lights a bit. Perhaps soften it. Perhaps try not to become overly emotional. Don't lead with your fire, perhaps. Nothing makes sense. Here, nothing makes sense. This was never about the fundamentals of basketball. This had to do with image control. There were rumors that the league and possibly even the Fever were pressuring them to keep Caitlyn consistent.
And they're trying to make her fit in to what the WNBA used to be, rather than fit out and be.
You know, disciplined, polished, and perhaps a bit robotic. Essentially transformed the league's most charismatic, intense, and attention-grabbing player into the WNBA's equivalent of a well-behaved prom queen. That's how you lose the room, then.
Referees are threatening a tech for hyping up the crowd. Go take your tech. This is sports. This is sports. You take a tech. I don't care. We treat this sport like it's men's.
This was pointed out by experts weeks ago. Before it blew up, they noticed the pattern. The coaching staff's attempt to completely rewire Caitlyn's identity. Minute by minute, play after play, her freedom on the court was gradually taken away. Caitlyn was leading her squad, lighting up defenses and rolling at an all-star pace prior to the June incident. Every item seems like it might be something. A 30-footer, a reckless pass, and an exciting run for the crowd. Everything, however, fell apart after the game when her coach forcibly seized her after energizing the crowd. Her attempts at shots failed. She stopped helping.
Was what they had to say to Caitlin Clark that urgent that the coach had to come out and grab her and say, what's going on?
And why was it more bizarre? During blowouts like the JC Sheldon game, this was taking place. By 20, you're up. Caitlyn's cooking, but the Fever benched her rather than letting her take charge and enjoy the fans' celebration. Why? There was a booming message. Reduce the volume.
It is... Caitlyn literally goes, well, it's like, well, they're trying to my team are trying to stop me from doing this, but that's when I'm at my best.
However, they toned down the entire presentation in the process. Both fans and analysts took note. Her nonverbal cues were clear. No more shouting, no more bumps on the chest, no more fire. In a round to games, she transitioned from Kobe intensity to incorporate training videos because Caitlin Clark is more than simply a data machine. It was agonizing to watch. She is a spark plug. Instead of using a script, she plays with her soul. The firing, which is the major moment, comes next.
She keeps getting asked interview questions about it. It's like, oh, they're trying to get you to do this. They're trying to get you to do this.
The Fever made an effort to shape Caitlin Clark into their ideal player. However, they overlooked the fact that Caitlin is already exactly who she needs to be. Unfiltered, loud, passionate, raw, and unstoppable, they are now having to learn. The hard way, let's face it, even though the coach is no longer there. This is more than just a clipboard and whistle. There is more to what happened to Caitlin Clark than one coach losing their temper. It concerns a league-wide inability to safeguard, encourage, and unleash the greatest star in women's basketball history. The WNBA is now upon notice, whether they like it or not.
Player is so important for this team and for this league in general.
The problem is that it wasn't a singular incident. In less than a complete season, Caitlin has been the victim of 5 distinct blatant or technically worthy fouls. She has only received a few common fouls and some toughening up energy from the media in return. Kennedy Carter and Natasha Cloud are 2 players who have executed blatantly unethical maneuvers. She was indeed checked by Carter from behind mid-play. What did the league do, you ask? Nothing, not even a quick pat on the back. For this team and the league as a whole, the player is crucial. That's what indicates that this goes beyond simple rough play. This concerns a league that is completely clueless on how to deal with a celebrity such as Caitlin Clark. They have viewed her as a liability rather than a cause for celebration, as if her personality were an issue to be dealt with rather than a force to be welcomed. Furthermore, it is illogical because Clark is more than just a basketball player. She is a sensation.
This is off everybody whenever we say it, and then obviously it becomes a whole thing because we're a bunch of doofuses and things like that, but like, this is the golden goose. This is the one. This is the generational, multi-generational play.
There were 2.1 million viewers of her debut game. She set records for jersey sales. Even when they're getting blasted out, she's packing arenas, controlling social media, and bringing national TV cameras to every Heat game. The WNBA has never received this kind of attention, yet rather than defending their most important player, they are attempting to control, censor, and mold her into a risk-free, uninteresting version of herself.
They're trying to take that away from her. They're trying to take away the greatest show in sport.
They did not want her to clap back at the referees. She wasn't supposed to energize the audience. Her chirping opponents were obviously not what they wanted. In essence, they desired the threes in the logo without the attitude. The problem is, though, it isn't Caitlin Clark. The game and the fire are inextricably linked. You cannot expect the same outcomes if you remove the attitude. Players like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and even Angel Reese receive accolades for displaying the same unadulterated emotion, which makes the hypocrisy unbelievable. Grit, swagger, trash talk, those men are honored. However, it suddenly becomes unsportsmanlike when Caitlyn displays it. She's too much all at once. Fans are clearly aware that there is a double standard in place.
There's clearly an issue, there's clearly a problem.
Now that the coach is gone, we've reached a watershed. Caitlyn's reclamation storyline may finally begin with this. The Fever front office is under pressure. Will they eventually let her to be herself, or will they continue to try to put her in a box because fans are sick of seeing Caitlyn treated like a brand that the WNBA controls? The Iowa version of Caitlyn, the fierce, unrelenting, talk-your-ear-off competitor who doesn't just play the game but takes it over, is what they want to see.
She is a player who, for better or for worse, plays off emotion.
Additionally, don't assume that nobody is observing. Fans, teammates, and the media all notice the change. Basketball isn't the only topic here. It has to do with culture. The question at hand is whether the WNBA is prepared to change and accept what contemporary fans actually looks like. The focus is no longer on well-tuned, restrained robots. It all comes down to presence, charisma, and passion. Every one of the three is Caitlyn Clark. Let's just call it that. When the league attempted to dull a star, it backfired. The fans are not amenable to it. It is not being ignored by the media. Most significantly, Caitlyn is not leaving. She is still standing and present. And now that the coach has moved aside, there's a chance that the real Caitlyn Clark will make a comeback. For more WNBA stories, don't forget to subscribe and like this video.